Yesterday, we got to the point where Mordecai, the king, Xerxes, had been humiliated. He went to war, a war that he knew that he was not going to win. But for a whole 6 months, he bragged about his wealth and how he can fund the war. I wish that our politicians will hear this case of giving us every details that how every war will be funded before we engage, because the taxpayers are being squeezed at all sides. People are going to bed hunger, but yet we have to fulfill some wars. And this man will not let people talk about this issue, but displays his majestic glory. That man will know that he was well-to-do, and the nation was going through. The same way, I remember that when they were celebrating about a year of about more than 2,500 years history of the presence of the Persian, which is the Iran. They displayed their whole money and then the whole kingdom and everything, and they were celebrating the 2,500 years of history. And when they were celebrating, people were right in Iran that were also hunger. Hunger was killing them, but the Iranians went ahead and celebrated their 2,500 years of existing in that Persian city. This man paraded all things. He went to the war and he lost. Then his mind came back. In that humiliation, what do I do? He was walking in his palace and he remembered what the wife did unto him. So he felt that now he has to punish the wife. And then the decree was issued. The decree went up, and they rather gathered all the women and that those that were so beautiful. But in this sense of the world, what it does is that when you become the one that the king will choose, if really you lose or you win, you will win something. It is nothing that you can just get out because they chose you. Why I hated Mordecai on this very issue, and he lost my respect when I began to read this thing, was number one, they were all out of the will of God. God has already given a decree that go back to Jerusalem and rebuild your nation and then stay. And they chose to stay back. Remember, when Mordecai was leaving Jerusalem into captivity, he was a very young man. Very, 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 very young in age. He's going to live there 70 years plus. And then he was to come. He should have been the person that should have had the joy to come back, but he chose to stay behind. That really made me just lost the respect for him. Not only that, but then number two is that you don't have to give your daughters in marriage to a heathen people. You see, Christians, we have a responsibility as a mother and as a father. You have a responsibility, even though our children have the choice to choose whoever they marry. Beloved, I will be the one that will withdraw my help of giving you the kind of help if you choose to go and marry outside the will of God. Because outside the will of God is somebody who is not a Christian. You have to make sure that your daughter or your son, your son-in-law or your daughter-in-law must be a Christian. And then you can give them your full backing of spending the lavish money that you have gathered down for helping them out when they go into marriage. But if they choose to go outside the will of God, that's the punishment that you have to give to them, because you lose their respect. If their child goes to that, you lose their respect. So Mordecai was going to give the daughter, this is her niece, his niece, to a heathen king. That was a violation. God says that you should never even intermarry with them. And that was what he was going to do. The third thing that Mordecai was doing was that if this girl go into this beauty pageant, beauty contest, and she wins, she becomes the wife of the king. Then if she loses, she becomes a concubine. A concubine means that you will be reserved the whole of your years. You will never go back unto the king. Only when the king remembers you and calls you by, hey, bring this woman to me, and then I lay with that woman. So you are putting your niece right into this kind of a crazy issue, which will be not worthy for such a man to do that. And that is exactly what this man was going. So 3 issues that made me lost respect for him. But wait a minute. I think I will hold on my criticisms until then I finish the whole book. Now listen to verse number 5. Now there was in the citadel of Susa a Jew of the tribe of Benjamin, named Mordecai, son of Jair, the son of Shemaiah, the son of Kish. Who was he? He was from the tribe of Benjamin. You know, the son of Kish gives you the understanding that when the Israelites started looking for a king, and then a king, they just told God that, God, every nation has a king, we needed a king. And then God said, okay, they have not rejected you, Samuel, they have rejected me because they don't want me to preside over them as their king. So give them a king after their heart. And then you remember a man called Saul was taken. He was also of the tribe of Benjamin, and he was of the father was called Kish. So the same line was Mordecai. Mordecai was from the line of Saul. And now listen to verse number 6. Who had been carried into exile from Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, among those taken captive with Jehoiakim, king of Judah. Mordecai had a cousin named Hadassah, whom he had brought up because she had neither father nor mother. The my side of equation, she would have been my niece. But here in the order of the Jew, they follow the paternal side. We follow the maternal side. This would have been my niece. But here is the cousin. Hadassah, in that Babylonian name, it means Esther. The meaning of Esther is star, like you see the stars in heaven. So that means that a star has been born. And when you give the child of that name, then that means that the child is always going to just follow that line, almost like a coincidence. The child is named Star, and she was really pretty. The Bible talks about that Esther was very, very pretty. And so this girl, Hadassah, Esther, had lost both parents, the mother and then the father. They died, and so she was an orphan. But Mordecai raised this Esther as a daughter unto him. Verse 7. Mordecai, the cousin of named verse 8, reads this. When the king's order and edict had been proclaimed, many girls were under the care of Hegai. The Hegai, Esther also was taken to the king's palace and entrusted to Hegai, who had charge of the harem. You see, this man was an eunuch. When we say somebody is an eunuch, you from the day one, because you will be taught the wisdom of Babylonians, and then you will taught everything of the palace. you will be the one who will take care of the women that the king will have. In turn, sometimes if the woman is taking shower and wanted the bath to be cleaned, is this Enoch that will go and clean the back of the woman. But in that instead, we see the nakedness of the king's wife. So they will castrate you. So when they castrate you, means that you will not have a reproduction. You will not even have the desire of having kind of appetite, of which you will end up maybe raping some woman. This is the practice, and you know, one who stood out was Daniel. Daniel was made an Enoch, and not because of his choice, but he came into the palace, and because this man was taught to the wisdom of Babylonians, they also made him an Enoch. When you call an Enoch, it is something that you never desired it. So the Bible says that there are Enochs being made by men, and Enochs being made by men are such those who take good care of the wives of a king are made Enochs, so that you don't have even the desire of going in for any other woman in your life. And this man is called Haggai, who are in charge. Verse 9, the king, the girl pleased him and won his favor. Immediately he provided her with a beauty treatment and special food. He assigned to her 7 maids selected from the king's palace, and moved her and her maids into the best place in the harem. You see, here even the one who is an Enoch, the moment the eye caught Esther, wow, this is the presentable one for the king. And so this man stepped up and gave Esther the highest position, the highest place in the palace, that would be with the maids that would be taking care of her beauty products. Now see verse 10. Esther had not revealed nationality and family background because Mordecai had forbidden her to do so. Why? Mordecai was out of the will of God, knowing very well that they serve a living God, and the way they pray and the way they do their business, it is different from the way those in the Babylonian do their thing. So he shut the mouth of Esther. This only reveals to me that when you are out of the will of God, your testimony is detestable unto everyone. You don't have to even give a testimony when you are out of the will of God. There's no way you should stand up. Your testimony stinks, and therefore you shouldn't give. So I think this thing was a border unto him, knowing that he has stepped out of the will of God. So he wouldn't allow even Esther to give up anything about. You remember Jonah, when he was in the boat, and then they wanted to find his identity. He never told them that he was a Jew. He kept his identity. When you step out of the will of God, you don't give any testimony. And so here is it, verse 11. Every day he walked back and forth near the courtyard of the harem to find out how Esther was and what was happening to her. Why would he go back and forth? When you step out of the will of God, you have restlessness. That's number 2 thing. The moment you go out of the will of God, you will never have a good sleep in your eye. This man was having trouble. The very day he allowed Esther to go into that beauty pageant, this man never rested. Verse number 12. Before a girl's turn came to go into the king Xerxes, she had to complete 12 months of beauty treatment prescribed for the women, 6 months with oil of myrrh and 6 months perfume and cosmetics. That is one thing I said, that nothing has changed so much with our ladies. when a woman is going to church, and especially when they are going just to see a presentation or stand in any way, watch out. Wake the woman at 4 a.m. to start dressing. Either than that, she will be more than Esther. They will be staying in the mirror for 6 months until you tell them that, hey, the car is ready to go. Let's go to church. Right there, they will say that, oh, let me see my face and put my lipstick on. Even at the last minute, she still wants to watch in there. Nothing has changed very much. Sometimes when I leave, I ask Connie, hey, are you still also becoming more than Esther? Let's go. You know, that you have to be in that kind of, you have to treat yourself for 6 months of getting into a beauty kind of treatment, and then 6 months of perfuming. Beloved, their nature is that they wanted even your skin. When you are walking around, you see, when somebody is so neat and clean and goes into spa and all that kind of things that the women subject themselves into, thank God that we are always men. And therefore, you can smell even in the body the perfume that the person used. Sometimes, when I was in Germany, there was a kind of product you put in your water before you take a shower, and they were always using it for the women to use it so that the women would smell that, you know, that excuse me to say, the kind of nature that these Caucasians bodies always have. Sometimes the body emits some kind of odor. Sometimes, if you are not careful, you smell when you go even into gym. Some people almost like this, they have to shower with garlic. The kind of smell that comes into that place, you will run away when they are so close to you. You ask yourself, what did this person eat? And what is it that is so emitting from the skin that smells like that? And it is just like, you don't know what that body emits. But thank God that I've never seen any black body smelling like that. But in that very nature, you have to go, and the king doesn't want to smell anything, and so you have to have a perfume so that your body will be smelling perfume. And when they say they are using myrrh and frankincense in decorating and making you, beloved, you will see. I don't know, when back home, when a child is born, they give you some myrrh and some frankincense, and then the child is it enables the child to become fluffy and become bulky and all kind of things. But I smell one thing about these children: when they are very kid and you raise them up, even after leaving the child, you will be smelling the child, smelling good, the frankincense. It's so good. And that's one part of the anointing oil. So that's what is being smeared on you, and then you begin to smell good. And so Esther was in a good end. Verse number 13. And this is how she would go to the king. Anything she wanted was given her to take with her from the harem to the king's palace. So this is it. You've been given the provision, and you've been given everything. Now you can see how God is behind the scene. God is using his providence. God is calculating, and God is pushing out his last way. What is it? I say provision. God's provision means the hand of God in the glove of circumstances. The hand of God in the glove of circumstances. So God's hand is in the glove of circumstances. So he's now bending it to shield him. Look at what happened. Now Esther is going to be exposed unto this very way. Now verse 14. In the evening she will go there, and in the morning return to another part of the harem, to the care of Shashgaz, the king's eunuch, who was in charge of concubines. She would not return to the king unless he was pleased with her and summoned her by name. You see, so when you go into the king, and then the king lays with you, and then you are not satisfactory to the king, you will be barred from seeing the king. Not just a bar, you will just be put into the king's concubine. You are not allowed to marry again. Only when the king remembers your name. For instance, if you are the 400th member of the concubine, when is your name going to come on the lip of the king? And this is what Mordecai subjected Esther into. And so either you win to become the queen or you become a concubine. No, none is sweet for Esther, because Esther is forbidden to marry a foreign, and then for that matter, against the will of God. So verse 15, when the time came to Esther, the girl Mordecai had adopted, the daughter of the uncle Abihail, to go to the king, she asked for nothing other than what Haggai, the king's eunuch, who was in charge of the harem, had suggested, and Esther won the favor of everyone who saw her. You see, so when it came to the point of Esther, Esther needed no any makeups. You see, when you are beautiful, you don't need so much makeups to make you look so attractive. And this is what happened. Esther never went through that perfumery, never went through all that kind of thing. She was that perfect. Just as the eye of Haggai caught her and put her into the right place, Esther went in and never asked for anything that, do me this, do this pedicure, do this manicure, just put this attachment and then put eyelashes on me, extension of eyelashes. I don't know whether my mouth is so small, let it have Botox on my body. Just remove this wrinkle and put this kind of pancake. I don't think that this is that. Oh, I think this colors will just match me. She never used anything. The natural beauty won the heart of the king. How God was steering it, it is amazing, because this time I am always saying that there is no any ugly woman in this world. As long as we have attachment and then we have all these makeups, there's no ugly woman. Let the woman get out of a salon. When a woman gets out of salon, watch the fingers, watch the eye, watch the hair. She is in a different world altogether. And therefore I say that I've never been in a place you see an ugly bride. An ugly bride is not, I've never seen, being a pastor for too long, I've never seen any ugly bride. Every bride begins to become different on that special day. And when you go to salon and you come out, oh my goodness, you're just in that dynamic nature. Esther now won the heart. I can't wait to present what goes beyond that point. Beloved, this is what God was sharing. This is what God was using. And his permissive will is just doing. It's not the perfect will of God, but yet God's hand is in the glove of circumstance. He is trying to move in every way that he will bend his people, bring his people back, even though they have stayed out of his will and they are doing their own thing. God was still, his eye was still upon them. Do you know what the grace of God can do for us? Oh, I can't wait to hear what this God will do with Esther. You can go ahead and read the verses after so that you get yourself equipped into it. By the time we will come to complete this where Esther should be, you've already gotten the insight. May God bless us and may God see us through, that we will see the hand of God. Even when it's not a perfect will, his provision will carry us in the day. In Jesus' name, amen.